Experimenting with Foundation Models with Faye Ellis. Huzzah! Hey everybody, how are we doing? Welcome back to VBrag, everybody. Today we've got AWS community hero, principal training architect, and amazing all-around human being, Faye Ellis on the show. Yay! Hi Faye, how are you doing?
Very, very good, thank you. I'm excited to be here. It's a beautiful day here in London. I actually went to the AWS London Summit earlier, so I'm fresh.
Nice.
I'm fresh from that. Like a whole day of running around, like doing interviews, like learning stuff, seeing sessions, seeing people. So yeah, all very exciting day for me today.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. This is the V Brown Bag podcast. We've talked about it. We're going to have us a little chat today about foundational models and how to experiment with them, not on the cheap, but without breaking the bank. Mr. Carlson, how are you today? The only non-Q logo wearing person on the stream.
Yeah, well, I actually do have an Amazon Q tramp stamp. So that's, you know.
Oh, you outdone us.
yes. It looks great in my swim trunks. You know, I'm just rocking it. I'm the classiest guy at the pool.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. What?
Hey,
if you're new here, what?
Yeah, I am doing very well, thank you. It is Wednesday afternoon for me, Wednesday, April 30th. I told my wife last night to watch out for all the "it's going to be May" things, and she was like, "It's only the 30th." I'm like, "Dude, okay, whatever. It's coming. It's almost Justin Timberlake time." The kids are good. Dog is good. You know, what else could you ask for?
That's about it. That's all the things that really matter. Okay, Damien, have you in deference to experimenting with foundational models, we have also been having this little blurb at the beginning where we talk about the AI things that we've been playing with. So, Damien, what have you been playing with recently from the AI world?
You know, I've really just been using Perplexity pretty much like on a daily basis. I have found it to be very helpful. You know, I was actually asking it kind of a complicated personal life question, and I put it into research mode just to see what it would do. And it took a while, then it finally came back, and it presented pretty great, I think, kind of series of steps or things to think about, and also a lot of like well-researched resources on how to navigate this personal issue, which I thought was very, very cool. And I just want to state that is in no way a replacement for an actual human therapist, but just in terms of like trying to like orient myself to the issue, I thought it was really good because it also added in some additional perspectives that I hadn't thought of before. Right. So to my therapist, nice. Tanya, you're still my favorite. You're amazing. But Perplexity did a good job this day.
Shout out to all the real human therapists out there.
Oh yes, for sure.
I've been using Google Studio AI as a training tool for myself. So with Google Studio AI, what you can do is you can actually share your screen and share your microphone to the studio, and then have it show you how to do things. And what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to learn how to get better with Adobe Premiere Pro, the video editing software. So I share my screen with Adobe Premiere Pro on it, and then I just have a conversation with the Google AI Studio, and I say, "Hey, I'm trying to make this edit, and I want to have like a really good looking dissolve in there. Can you see what I'm doing?" And they're like, "Yeah, I see what you're doing. What you need to do is go in the upper right-hand corner, click here, touch this, do that, make this edit over here, modify the numbers, and you should be okay to go. Let me know if you need any more help." And it works. Like it sees what I'm doing on the screen in real time, gives me recommendations on how to like do like if you want to fuzz out like API keys or something, it shows you where to find the mosaic tool. It's really good for that. It's really good for teaching you that.
So that's a great use case.
Yeah,
I hadn't even ever thought of doing that. That is amazing.
I will share the link for it in the show notes for this show.
I think Premiere Pro is so complicated.
It really is.
it's so powerful, but most of us are not going to need to use like the millions and gazillions of features that it's actually got. So I can easily like get myself in a real mess with Premiere Pro. So for that reason, I've kind of left it behind and not. But this, what you just said, has given me hope and made me think, oh, maybe I can actually pick that up again.
And you don't want to constantly be bothering your video editor friend for like, well, how do I do this tiny little thing? It's a instructor that shows you how to do the things in real time, and it never gets tired. It's brilliant for showing you how to do things, and you can do it with any application. All right, Faye, I'm totally putting you on the spot, and you can defer. But do you have a thing that you're playing with that's super fun?
Not really fun. Well, yeah, I'm always playing with something, trying to figure something out with AI. I've been doing a bit with Bedrock recently, just for my work, which has been cool. Getting my hands dirty with agents and figuring out how they work and how easily they work, and how little information you can actually give these like agents for Amazon Bedrock to get them to do quite a lot. And yeah, I've had a lot of fun just giving really bad prompts to the agent and seeing or really bad instructions, a really bad set of data, and seeing it try to actually deliver what I'm trying to get it to do, and just kind of learning that way, and trying to get better at providing the right data. You know, data is of course the fuel for AI, and data is going to be that differentiator that's going to like make organizations money when they're leveraging it with their AI systems. So I've been just kind of playing around with that and creating like useless applications with useless applications just to teach myself how to do some of it. So I created like an application that allows you to book a tennis court and ask questions of an AI agent. So it will like tell you if you're asking to book a tennis court that doesn't even exist, or if you already booked it that day for that time, or somebody else booked it, or it'll tell you which tennis courts are available, which have the floodlights, or which has newly been painted or got the new net or whatever. So I've been playing around with that, like random use cases that I just kind of dreamed up. So, but loads of fun doing that with AWS technologies. Like they make it very easy for you to do it, and very inexpensive to get started.
You started with useless apps, and then you just like ran off a litany of useful things that you did with it. So I question your use of the word useless.
I guess imaginary is more appropriate. Just imaginary applications.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's get into it. I mean, everybody's here to learn how to experiment with foundational models. So why don't I shut up and let you do your thing, Faye?
Okay, let's go, shall we? The first time I've ever presented from Streamlit, so I hope it goes all right.
Me too.
Okay. So let's start off with what is Amazon Bedrock. If you haven't used it before, you're going to love it. It basically gives you an API endpoint into loads of different foundational models that are hosted within AWS, meaning that you get access to like a whole variety of different models, allowing you to experiment and find the very best model for your use case. And it's not a one size fits all, as we discovered, loads of different models for different requirements. So Bedrock provides you a selection of different models from different industry leaders, meaning that you can select the right one for your requirements. You know, whether your priority is to find something affordable, maybe you want something like really compact for very simple queries, not complex queries. Maybe you want that balance between price and performance. Or maybe you don't care so much about price and you want to find something that's really high performance and you've got really complex tasks. So that's, for me, is really the beauty of Amazon Bedrock. It lets you have access to all of these different models without you having to install anything and configure anything for yourself in terms of like building and running and training a model. However, when we got choice, we've also got complexity, right? Different models have different needs, different requirements, different configuration parameters. New models being added all the time. We see it every week or even on the daily, like new versions of existing models. And you might find that when you've written some code, spent a long time writing your code and it's calling these models in Bedrock, but then a new model comes out and you end up having to adjust to cater for the new requirements of this new model, which of course creates more work. And we don't want to create more work for developers and builders. We want to do less work. So if like me, you've been thinking, what if I want a consistent experience, or I want to use the same code for all Amazon Bedrock models that support messages? And when we talk about messages, that's kind of having that user and system interaction, asking the model to perform something for us and then getting a response. And what if we want to write our code once and then run it with lots of different models, including like new versions of the existing model we're using? Well, if you've ever thought about that, then what you need is the Converse API. So that's the problem that it's going to solve. So a little bit about me. I'm a principal training architect at Pluralsight. It used to be Cloud Guru. Now we are part of the Pluralsight family. I'm an AWS community hero since last year even, since last year, not last week. But it still feels so fresh, and it's still like a dream to me that happened. So that's pretty amazing. I specialize in AWS, passionate about everything cloud, and I've worked as a sysadmin, DevOps team lead, an architect most recently for about 10 years, working lots of different places in London. And I'm of course based in London. And if anyone wants to talk to me about non-tech things, I'm obsessed with baking bread and eating it, of course. But yeah, I'm about as obsessed as I am eating it as I am baking it. So I'm constantly trying to improve my sourdough game.
So that bread looks legit, by the way.
We need to change recipes. I am also a baker.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, love it. Yeah. So yeah, we definitely need to exchange recipes. Okay, so my little, what I've got prepared for you today is just a little bit of like a really quick demo on how to start experimenting with foundation models. If you haven't already, we'll go through why to use Bedrock, talk a bit about the AWS SDK for Python, Boto 3, the Converse API, which is this wonderful API that they've introduced. It's part of Bedrock, and I've got a little demo that I'm going to show to you. I'll run through the architecture. We'll review the elements of the code, and it's only like a very small piece of code. We'll run the demo. It's like 5 minutes, and you can try it yourself using my code, and I'll give you all the links and everything for that. We can talk about some other resources that are available, as well as the top skills for 2025 and beyond, according to a survey that Pluralsight did recently. So that's kind of what we're going to go through today. All right, so Amazon Bedrock is, of course, it's serverless. So that means no infrastructure is needed, reduces your operational heavy lifting, and of course, gets you to a working thing really, really quickly, accelerating your development time, reducing time to market, and kind of beating your competition in terms of getting something out the door. Advantages are that you can try new stuff. If it doesn't work, tear it down, try it again, try a different technology. Reduced upfront investment. You don't need to install any EC2 instances or anything like that. You can create a generative AI-based application using completely serverless technology. And of course, AWS have a history of using machine learning and AI to optimize their business. So things like running their recommendation engine on Amazon.com, that kind of thing. So they have decades of experience. And of course, AI and machine learning has been around for decades. It's only now that we're really getting the benefit of it. So of course, with Bedrock, you get loads of other things that you would expect from a production AWS service. So they're encrypting your data, your prompts, and your responses. Your data is never used to retrain the base model. And you get the benefit of, private networks as well. So it integrates with your VPC, so you can protect its if it's reaching out to other systems within your VPC, you can make sure that it's all protected. You can keep everything within the AWS network, within the AWS private link, and you can also really, really easily customize it with your own data stored in S3. And there are loads of other cool features of Bedrock, for instance, like things like guardrails to protect against offensive or harmful content, agents that we talked about earlier, so the ability to create applications that actually do stuff for you and not just the basics of questions and answers. So things like, I don't know, adding a product to a shopping cart, performing a transaction, like billing somebody for a service or scheduling a delivery of a product, that kind of thing. So moving on to some of the other elements of this little demo, I used Python to code this just because it's really easy. It's easy to understand. It's easy to run it. You can run it like this little application. You can run anywhere that's sitting on Python. That has Python on the machine that you're running it on. And it basically is a wrapper to this Boto 3 library. Is basically like gives you a wrapper to the AWS, the APIs that actually drive AWS. So it makes it really easy to do things like communicate with Bedrock, communicate with AWS resources. You can even create AWS resources, build them and configure them using this SDK. So it's a really good one to start building with, especially if you haven't really used any of the underlying like AWS APIs before. Okay. Now, what's this Converse API then? So this is actually part of Bedrock. And the whole idea is that it simplifies the interaction with text-based Gen AI models, meaning that you can write your code once and then you can use it to seamlessly interact with different models. And I'll show you how to actually change the model that you're interacting with just by simply changing the model ID in the code, and you'll see that in action. It gives you a really consistent way to invoke models when using Bedrock, as well as even providing certain parameters like temperature and top P, that kind of thing, and or the maximum amount of tokens you want returned, and you'll see that in my code as well. And this means it's going to be really easy to experiment with lots of different models. So to use your code, try it with one model, see the results, and then try it again with a different model to see if you could potentially like save money, or could you save on time? Would it be lower latency using one model over another? Lots of different reasons why you would want to select one model over another. Okay, so this is my simple little application. I'm afraid the transitions on my slides aren't working because we've had to I had to export it to PowerPoint. But what should really be shown on this slide is that we're using the Boto 3 AWS SDK for Python, as well as the Converse API to communicate with foundation models in Bedrock. And we start off, what isn't shown on this diagram is that we start off by talking to Claude, and then we simply update the model ID to a Mistral text-based model instead. And all we have to do is like update that model ID in the code, and it will give Bedrock will invoke the other foundation model. So basically, that's the components of my application. So it's the Boto 3 SDK, we're using the Converse API, we're using Bedrock, and we're using Bedrock to invoke one of the foundation models that's represented in the code. So really, really, really simple. Okay, so let's quickly review my code. So at the top, we're starting off by importing the AWS SDK for Python, Boto 3, as well as JSON as well. We're using JSON later for when it actually returns the response from the model. In the next step, we are creating a Boto 3 session. So this just stores some session configuration state, allowing us to actually start interacting with AWS resources. In the next step, we are creating our Bedrock runtime client instance. So this is a component that's used to actually send the API calls to the models in Bedrock. The next part, this is this system prompt part, and this is where we're actually telling the model what we want it to do. So in my example, I'm telling it it's an application that creates reading lists for book groups. And this is a bit like the kind of way you can do some of your prompt engineering in this kind of system prompt section. So you can actually tell the model that you want it to adopt a certain persona or think in a certain way, etc. But I've just given it a really simple prompt. And if you try this out for yourself using my code, you can go ahead and change this. So this is one of the things that you can really easily update to make it do something different. The next step is, the next step is defining. Next, we're going to define a empty message list. For some reason, my assistant wanted to get woken up.
That's the problem in 2020. That's like the main issue of presenting in 2025. You can't, there's so many keywords you can't say in your house, in your car, on your telephone. It's a thing. It is a thing.
And this is what happens when we try and do things live, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so next we are defining an empty message list, or an array really. And this is going to be used to pass messages into the model. It starts off empty, and then in the next step we add a message. But actually, if we want to maintain conversation history, for instance, we can make sure that we've got multiple messages. All the previous messages are stored in this message list or array. Here is my initial message that I want to send to the model. So I'm asking it to create a list of 5 novels that are going to be suitable for a book group who are interested in the classics. And then after creating that initial message, it's going to get appended to the message list. Well, I'm sorry, this hasn't displayed very nicely, but I will.
So for the viewers that are watching this is all my fault. The way that StreamYard had to do things, it had to convert this to a PDF. So this is not Faye's work. This is Chris Williams's work.
Okay, so what's going on this slide? It's looking a little bit crazy. Okay, so the first thing we're doing is this is where we're actually making the API call to the Converse API. So we're starting off by, first of all, defining the model that we want to use. So I'm using, in this case, the model ID is Anthropic Claude version 2. And once again, this is the piece that we would change if we want to change to use a different model. Next, we define the message, and that's sitting in our message list that we defined earlier, our system prompt as well. And then after that, where it says inference configuration, this is our inference parameters. And my little question marks here were to try and do some interaction, if we can, and see if anybody can give us an answer about what is max tokens. What does that refer to? Would anyone like to try and guess? Or tell us in the chat, or does anyone have the answer?
I'm going to wait for somebody in chat to answer. Context length from Game Over Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so this is the amount of it can be to do with the amount of it can be to do with the amount that we're actually feeding into the model, but this one I think is to do with how much it's going to return. So effectively, the number of tokens it's allowed to return and before it cuts off. And I heard the other day, actually, that it doesn't relate to actual words. So a token isn't necessarily a word. Right. And it all depends on which language you're using. Which kind of spoken conversational language, like, for instance, English or French or Japanese. And different languages typically will have words that are longer or shorter. So longer words, of course, are going to be more tokens. I heard that the majority of the English language has words that are tokens that are maybe words that are 2 to 3 tokens in length for the majority of words that we're using. And because there's a lot of short words in English, but in longer languages that have longer words, that I think maybe like Slavic languages, for instance, might have lots of longer words. So you'd end up with more tokens. So it's to do with, in this instance, it's to do with the amount of words and tokens that are actually returned in the output.
Did you just call English speakers dumb?
We have to keep it simple. We should try.
I blame you, Faye, as the representative of England. It's your
That's
fault.
fine. Don't remind me. No problem. I like to keep things simple as well.
This is why we threw tea in the harbor.
Oh my god, I love that.
Words short equal good.
Okay, what about temperature? Does anyone want to tell us what is temperature?
Mike's going to say something about having a fever or something. I know, because that's exactly what he does. Damien, you want to take a shot?
Temperature. Is that how close it is to inferring the answer?
Kind of. It's to do with like the amount of randomness and creativity to put in. So I think it can be between 0 and 1. And if we make it 0, then we're telling it to really stick closely to the facts, stick closely to the prompt, and don't kind of go, don't give me creative answers. If we were, for instance, asking it to write a children's story, like a bedtime story, we might want to increase the temperature so it would be more creative, and we had like dragons flying around and talking kangaroos. We wouldn't want it to keep to the facts so much if we're trying to create a nice, interesting story for kids. And then, kind of in relation to that, there's top P. It's kind of similar, I think. Does anyone want to say what top P is?
At one point in the past, I knew what it was, but I have lost it. So I'm actually asking Perplexity. Nucleus sampling.
Well, Google thinks it's baseball trading cards. So,
Perplexity was closer. A technique used in large language models to control the diversity and randomness of generated text determines which tokens are considered as possible next outputs by setting a cumulative probability threshold denoted as P.
Yep.
Wow.
The way I remember it is P for probability, but I guess it's also could be like percentile, maybe. So it's this is kind of defining. Once again, it's a range between 0 and 1. If you have a lower number, then you're going to get the top percentile, the top 0.1, or the top 10%, I think, of the most highly probable things to respond with, instead of the less probable things, the more random stuff. So less randomness, more highly probable. And once again, if you were doing like a creative activity, you'd probably want a bit more randomness. You wouldn't want everything to be boring. But if we're dealing in the facts, so let's not have random stuff in my book list for my book group. Okay, so those are my little questions. I'm sorry that the slides didn't work great, but hopefully we got there.
My fault.
Okay, and then the last two bits are really we're finally invoking Bedrock Converse API using the parameters that we provided up front. And then after that, we're asking it to just print the result by using JSON dumps. So that is really the gist of my code. It's really, really, really simple. And as I said, you can easily run this yourself. And I think the next bit is actually a demo. Okay. So before we run my demo, I've got some prerequisites to make this thing work. If you want to try it for yourself, of course, an AWS account. Next, for every model in Bedrock you want to use, you've got to enable it first in Bedrock. So you go ahead into model access and just tick the ones that you want to use. It's pretty much instant, and then you'll be good to go. Next, you will need to have my Python code, and I will give you the link for it so that you can find it. It's just on GitHub. And you want to have Python installed in the place that you're going to run it, whether that's on your local machine or on like an EC2 instance or wherever you're going to run it. I used Cloud Shell just because I was in AWS and I know it's going to work for everybody. It's really quick. It's already set up with the AWS CLI permissions. As long as your AWS user has got access to use Bedrock, when you invoke the Cloud Shell, you'll have all the permissions that you need. And it's easy. You can just install Python on there or upgrade Python on the Cloud Shell and you'll be good to go. So you could just like get this thing running really, really quickly. Okay. So let's take a look at my demo. So next I'm going to just start off my demo. This demo was created for social media, so there's no preamble.
Hold on.
After importing Boto 3 and JSON, I create a Boto 3 session needed to interact with services in AWS. Then I create a Bedrock runtime client instance, and this is used to send API calls to the models in Bedrock. Here's our prompt telling the model what we want it to do, and we're creating an app that is going to provide a reading list for a book group. Next, we're defining an empty list, and this is going to be used to pass messages to the model. Here's the message that I want to send to the model, and we're asking it to create a list of 5 novels that are suitable for a book group who are interested in the classics. The message is then appended to the message list, and then down here we're making the API call to the Bedrock Converse API. We're defining the model ID, the message, any system prompts, and any configuration parameters that we want to use. And then finally, we'll invoke Converse with all the parameters that we provided and ask it to print the result. Let's see it in action. And there we go, it's given us our reading list of 5 classic novels. To try the same code with a different model, we can keep all of the parameters the same and just replace the model ID. And here I'm using a model from a different provider, one from Mistral. And there we go, we get a different response and we can compare the output to the first model. Now you can try all of this yourself using my easy tutorial. And next time you're working with Amazon Bedrock, do yourself a favor, try out the Converse API and thank me later.
Okay, so that was my little demo. It was created for social media. So yeah, very punchy. It should be punchy. Let's get back to my slides. There we go. Right. Okay, so my takeaways are that we can really easily create a conversational application. We can actually get it to do kind of multi-turn conversations as well with our little message array list. We send and receive messages to foundation model in Bedrock. We can observe the results from different models. So if we have a very specific use case and specific priorities around the results that we want to see, we can really easily compare the results between the 2 models. We can really easily update our code when a new model is released or when there's a new version of the model that we're using right now. And we can really, really easily change the functionality as well by updating our message that we put in and also changing our system prompt as well. Okay, so if you'd like to try it out for yourself, you can find a little tutorial. Here's the link for my tutorial. You can find the demo code yourself if you're pretty fine with how to actually use this thing. Just download the code. This exercise will cost a few cents because I was just using Cloud Shell and just invoking Bedrock a couple of times. So it will really not cost you very much money to start playing around with this. And if you're interested in any of the courses that we've got going on Pluralsight, they're always doing a 10-day free trial. After that, they will charge you. So beware. And if you're not willing to continue, then do go ahead and cancel before the 10 days are up. But we have loads of different content on generative AI. When I searched last time, it's like almost 400 different pieces of content covering pretty much anything you can think of. Not just AWS, they've got all the other cloud providers as well as kind of general technologies. So things like LangChain and not necessarily associated with a specific cloud provider. Okay. And I also wanted to share with you some of the AI skills that we've been hearing about as being like the skills to have 2025 and beyond. So Pluralsight did a massive survey with thousands of different customers from all across different industries, and these are the things that came up again and again and again. And I don't think there's any surprises here. So things like AI agents, everybody's going on about them. All of the cloud providers are providing ways to actually utilize these agents and create them. You can, of course, do them using frameworks like LangChain very quickly and easily. Agentic RAG, the combination of agents, so agents that actually do stuff for you, as well as use RAG techniques, so retrieval augmented generation, custom data, so agents that can actually access your custom data, take actions with it as well, or take action based on your custom data. Small language models as well, so kind of edge computing or devices, much smaller models that can run on smaller devices, so like locally on your machine, could be on your phone. Eventually, probably every device in our home is going to have some kind of AI element to it. LangChain, a framework that's really makes it really easy to start building AI-powered applications, start building applications that use these techniques like agentic RAG, agents, conversation history, like storing past conversation and past messages, so you don't have to keep telling it again and again what we're talking about and the previous messages. And also cloud-based AI services, so services like Amazon Bedrock that we've been talking about, but also services from other cloud providers like Google Vertex AI. Don't ask me anything about it because I stopped learning Google technology ages ago, and I never got started really with Azure, to be honest, because I always was specialized in Linux and Solaris and Unix, and I never really went anywhere near Windows technology pretty much in my entire career. But I'm aware it exists. It's just over the fence from me. So I haven't been doing anything with that. But yeah, all the cloud providers providing ways to, like doorways, ways to get in, gateways to get in, and lots of different opportunities to learn about this stuff. So that's it. That's what I have for you. Thank you so much for listening to me. If you want to get in touch with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Blue Sky, and you can find me on TikTok as well, in Faye Cloud Guru. Yeah, that was really fun to show you what I've been playing at with Converse. But of course, you can do loads and loads and loads of other things with it. You can get it to interact with different tools, call functions, you can provide documents to it, you can play with guardrails, there's loads of other things that you can do with it, and that's just kind of what I showed you is the most basic thing to just get started with it and kind of understand, you know, the whole concept of how easy it is to just like switch out that model ID and get a different result that you can actually compare and start writing code that's going to be very flexible and make your life easier going forward, not make it harder.
Amazing. All right. So we do have a number of questions from the studio audience. A couple of them are all kind of like combo questions. So I'm going to glom all of them together under the heading of cost. So one of them was, how do we know how much a small call like that would have cost? Is that something that you can track easily? Can you get immediate feedback when you're switching from different models so that you can do a price point comparison in that vein?
That's interesting. I haven't seen any immediate feedback as such, but I would certainly, as part of the exercise when you're selecting foundation models to start experimenting with for particular use cases, I actually think that before you even invoke a single model for your use case, there's kind of more like a desk exercise to where you actually think about, okay, what are my requirements? Am I looking for, what do I want out of this model? For instance, do I want a model that can speak French? Or do I want a model that's good at maths? Do I want one that's extremely performant for complex stuff? Or do I want one that's the most cost effective? And I think creating that that matrix of what your requirements really are, and then looking at what's available, and you can quickly eliminate some of these models from your
Options.
kind of tool bag, from your options, eliminate from your inquiries. You can immediately say, okay, well, if this one doesn't support French, I'm not going to use it. So which are the ones that do support French? Okay, so now I've got a subset of models, and these are the ones I'm going to try. Out of this subset, which one is going to be the smallest one, the most inexpensive one that's going to do the trick, that I think is going to be able to be capable? Which one is the kind of light model? I would that's the way that I would approach it. Like, has this model got the characteristics and got the capabilities that I'm looking for? And then I would look, okay, what's the cost here? And I would, so they're all costed differently, of course, because they're coming from third parties. Similarly, if you purchase something on the AWS marketplace, it's all going to have a totally different cost. So I would take a look at, okay, what is the cost for X? Like, usually they're pricing it like X number of, you get X number of prompts or X number of tokens, et cetera, and try and really drill down into that and figure out. Unfortunately, there will be a calculation that you'll have to do to try and work it out. Like, but it's cents. I mean, if you're just playing and experimenting, like I have been, it's just a few cents here and there. And for me personally, I think, we've all got to learn AI. We all got to, whether we like it or not, we got to learn it.
100%.
If we can get our company to pay for our experimentation, that is wonderful. If certainly on Pluralsight, we have this AI sandbox. So you can, if you do have a Pluralsight subscription, you can use our AI sandbox for AWS, and you can run this kind of thing, and it's not going to cost you anything because Pluralsight will pick up the bill. So, I mean, ultimately you are paying for it because you're paying for that service, but it's not going to cost you any more. So yeah, it is going to cost. They're not making them free, but it's just a few cents here and there. And I think really, honestly, I think it's all of our responsibility to learn a little bit about AI, to learn to understand, okay, what are the limitations of these technologies? What are the dangers? And only in really understanding, okay, what's possible, what's not possible, what can go wrong, what can it do, what can't it do, or what can it try and convince you that it's doing well when it's not really doing it very well. Where is it trying to, stretch itself into things that it's not really capable of doing properly? Like, where is it hallucinating? Where is that coming from? Why is it biased? What can we do to prevent those kind of things from happening? Because every organization we work at is going to be implementing this technology, and we want to be there to be able to say, this is not working. It's not fit for purpose. I don't believe the output. We haven't implemented this responsibly. And unless we all start playing around with it at whatever level, we're never going to be able to kind of do that. So yeah, that would turn into a whole different conversation. Sorry.
Totally. The AI. Ooh, maybe that's a new business model for Corey Quinn. Instead of cloud economist, AI economist.
Totally. We're going to need it. We're totally going to need it.
All right, we'll talk about that later. Okay. One other question from Mike, and this is, I guess, a broader question. In your experience, do you find certain models are more consistent for like code-based responses, like getting good code back from particular LLMs? Are there any that stand out?
I like Claude for most things, to be honest. I've had really good experience with Claude for most of the things that I've tried to do. Certainly for code, I've used Amazon Q because that's at the moment I have been doing creating content related to Amazon Q. Part of my job is, of course, creating content for Pluralsight, and they've got me doing a couple of courses. I just finished an Amazon Q course, and I'm going straight into another one. So a lot of what I've been doing, experimenting with for code creation and code refinement and like fixing security issues and finding bugs and that kind of thing, has been with Q. Now, I've got to say, when I first tried to use it, I really didn't like it. And I'm talking a long time ago, actually, when I very first started to use it. And I just didn't like the responses. I didn't like it would give me code that didn't work, or it give me, I would be
I don't
working
think
in
anybody did.
No, I'd be working in Python and it'd give me some Node.js code. And I'll be like, why have you given me this? Even I know that's not right.
Right.
But I gotta say, it's improved massively. And I think it's partly to do with like people giving feedback, like because you can actually give it thumbs up, thumbs down for the responses. I think it's generally got better, but also they've introduced, I think it's using Claude under the hood now. So it's definitely powered by Bedrock. I don't know what model it was using before, but now I think it's using Claude, and it's so much better for the kind of work that I'm doing in terms that's AWS focused. Q is working for me, but I've got to say that if you were working with lots of different cloud providers, you might not have such a good time with it. So for that reason, I would say seek out a development co-pilot that's powered by Claude. That would be where I would be looking.
Cool. Okay. Damien, I have bogarted the mic the entire time. Do you have any questions, or have you seen any questions?
Let's see. I think we might have covered the majority of the questions. Samuel Freedom was asking if there was an API call to calculate use of services, but I think you covered that already, Faye.
Yeah, I also asked Perplexity, and he said no. So, she, they, who knows?
I think you can get Amazon Q to help with some of your cost stuff, but I think it's after the fact, like after it's actually like the cost has been accrued and applied to your account, you can get Amazon Q to help you figure some of that out. But I would also ask it in the console, like, you know, when you log into the AWS console and you can actually start chatting with Q in there. I would even like see if it could give you a little comparison between two different models, like your two favorite models. Get it to you would have to check its work though, definitely.
Yeah, 100%.
Believe everything we read on the internet, so we should not believe everything that Amazon Q is telling us either.
Do not double check all of the work. Definitely,
right, for sure.
Anything from your end, Damien? I asked all my questions. I'm good.
No, this has been a great presentation, Faye. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and
great.
Thank you for not staying up late, but doing this from the UK. Super appreciate you being flexible in your timing too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you guys as well, because you know what? I think it's such hard work organizing a podcast, doing it for so long and being consistent with it, like organizing all the guests. Like, hats off to you. Like, for me, all I have to do is rock up. So I totally appreciate the opportunity to spread my message and be on your podcast without having to run my own podcast at all. So
you
done.
know what? I super appreciate that. We I think you're the first person that's ever said that live on the show.
It's a lot of work, man. It really is. I almost wish we had someone to like handle kind of the back office stuff, right? Like just
wouldn't that be
checking
amazing?
in with presenters. Yeah. But we do what we can, and I can't speak for Chris, but I know that I am very thankful to have had this opportunity to be a part of the show. So
yeah, well, great job. Both of you. Great job.
Thank you.
Awesome. Have a great day, and we will see you again next week. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.